Please be seated. Grace, peace, and mercy are yours from the triune God. Welcome to Easter, part 2. The Easter story in John is great. We just talked about it last week. If I could choose one story to preach for the rest of my life, it would be John 20. But, and it's a big but, I would put this text in with the Easter text, the one that we read today. I just think that the Easter text of Mary coming to the tomb that first Easter, Peter and the beloved disciples' goofy foot race, and Jesus being mistaken by a gardener only to be revealed as Jesus by Mary when he says her name, and Mary being sent out to go tell the disciples just before this, without this part about the disciples seeing Jesus the first time, it's incomplete. Without this first encounter of Jesus with the disciples in their little closed-off room with the curtains drawn and empty wineskins in the corner or whatever, Jesus just appearing somehow, I am left wanting more. Jesus is raised from the dead. Mary has been sent out to go tell the disciples. But then what? Now we get the then what? What happens to his followers? It's such a bizarre story, and it is, again, one of my favorite parts, but I don't think that it gets the attention that it deserves, because this is the text every week after Easter. Every single week. Every single year after Easter. And churches are tired. Pastors are tired, and no offense to interns and like supply pastors, but they often get stuck with it. And here, we get the story to wrestle with, and I love it. But often it gets glossed right over the top of. But it is a huge and very weird story. The gospel, or at least the lectionary, does not take any breaks. It's so big, I again truly believe that in order to understand the full implications of Jesus' resurrection, we need this part of the story in John. I would invite you to my letter writing campaign, to the bigwigs in the Revised Common Lectionary. And another thing about this text. You know the little italics titles that we get in our Bibles, the stories in the Bible? That's not written in Greek. We added those a lot later. For instance, the feeding of the 5,000, the little italics section, the parable of the seed, and doubting Thomas. Those are our little modern creations. Those aren't in the story. That's not fair. The one time Thomas gets some airtime, and now he is doubting Thomas in perpetuity. We never call him the twin. He's doubting Thomas. Thomas, I think, just wanted the same experience as everybody else. Thomas is out of the room when Jesus comes. I don't know, buying milk or eggs or more cheap wine for the disciples to continue their hiding, when Jesus just apparates into the room, walks through the walls like he's a ghost or something, and gives them proof that the resurrection happened. He breathes on them. He breathes on them. And this is why I think that this belongs with the rest of the resurrection story. Because we call it the doubting Thomas story, but what are the other disciples doing anyway? They are afraid, it says, of the religious authorities, yes. But Mary told them that there was a resurrection, that she had seen the Lord. Why are they afraid of the authorities? Why does that matter? Why aren't they out looking for Jesus? What are they doing in this little apartment with all the blinds shut? It just seems like there's something more going on. What are they afraid of? Or who are they hiding from? Really? Last summer, I went to go visit my best friend Tyler. Tyler and me were tight. But we hadn't talked much in a long time. We were best friends in college. We had let life get in the way. Gaps between visits had gotten longer and longer, calls less frequent, until I finally said, I'm going to go see Tyler. And the night before I went to go see him in Raleigh, Tamara, my spouse, asked me if I was excited. And I had to say, no. I was nervous and anxious. What if things weren't the same after all that time? What if he just said I could come and visit and was excited about it, and now we were going to be awkward with each other? What if I couldn't carry the conversation? What if I was boring? What if we weren't that good of friends anymore? Doubt, sneaky doubt, wheeled its way into my brain and sort of convinced me that maybe I wasn't all that good, or our friendship wasn't that strong, and that I was going to be a burden to Tyler. Anybody ever experienced something like that with a friend? It's horrible, right? It's horrible. I hear the story from the disciples, and they are all shut up in their room, and they are hiding from the religious authorities, but also part of me wonders if they are hiding from Jesus. Wonders if they are hiding from themselves. If after all that went down the week before, all the betrayal, all the running and hiding, all the rage and believing that Jesus was going to do something totally different, all the misunderstandings about what was going on, left them feeling foolish. I wonder if they doubted Jesus would love them anymore. I wonder if they doubted their own love and own capabilities, if maybe they weren't the ones that Jesus should have chosen. So they shuttered their doors and locked themselves in, secluded themselves. And then Jesus appears and offers them peace, sends them off into the world to go tell the world about him, and he breathes on them. Do you know how a crucifixion ends a life? It is a suffocation. It's not the nails and the blood loss, it's our body's exhaustion to just not be able to hold itself up anymore, and eventually the weight of somebody just stops letting the lungs expand. It's being squeezed. But Jesus breathes on them and shows his wounds. He even has Thomas stick his hands in his side a week later. This is important. It's the most important thing, because for a few days, the disciples thought that the world's power structures were right. They thought the empire had won. Jesus spoke about a way of being in the world free of judgment, free of outing people, and some people being good and some people being bad and separate. Jesus teaches against that. And though the disciples didn't get the message the whole time, for a few days they thought that the empire's violence had won again. Mary shows up and says that she has seen the Lord, though. And they hide. Why? Because maybe they weren't that good of friends after all. Maybe it'd be better to hide and just not call or look for him or go visit Jesus. Because maybe Jesus was mad. Maybe they believed that he was the Son of God, and now they were going to get it for what they did. Maybe they believed that the religious authorities were coming for them. Maybe they believed that they were not good enough, that they had failed the test, that they had not believed in Jesus' way of peace and love. They had hid and desired wrath instead. But this is a resurrection story. And Jesus shows up and gives them peace and proof with the Spirit's breath that Jesus' way of love, togetherness, and holy vulnerability is the only way to true life. This way defeated the powers of hate. And to prove it, he breathes on them and gives them peace. All these years later, we disciples of Jesus still get stuck in these old rooms with the blinds all shut, don't we? We wonder if we are good enough for Jesus. We wonder if maybe hate and greed are the only ways to get by. We cling to what is ours and refuse to share. We segregate people and call some people in and some people out. We spiral in shrinking dark rooms. But this story and numerous other stories of Spirit in our lives and in the lives of others reminds us that there is a better way. A way to live in open and earnest community despite our doubts. There is hope that is just a breath away, that will bring us peace and send us out of our seclusion. There is a joy. There is a resurrection that grants us freedom from our tombs. Amen.